Hey everybody, what's up? We're the Parents Under the Stairs, and we're here with another episode. This time we're going to be talking about grief in horror movies, which is a topic that you came up with.
I did. So, if you know me, you know in the last year, a little over a year, I lost my two oldest brothers within 8 months of one another. So, I've been kind of up and down, grieving a lot, I guess. So that's kind of why we've been on a hiatus. I needed some time to be useless, but, we're back. And I thought it would be a good episode to talk about some horror movies that deal with grief and put you in your feels, because that's where I've been. I've been all up in my feels.
Yep. So these are going to be the heart-wrenching movies that you might not want to watch if you want to be in a happy mood afterwards.
Yeah,
so.
If you need a good cry, I don't know. I guess I'm a person that when I'm sad, I watch the most horrible
I'm the total opposite. Like, I'll straight up watch the Ghostbusters cartoon or G.I. Joe or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's why I was watching The Nutty Professor this morning. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be in a weird headspace later.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's get started. Do you want to go first or me?
I'll go first. My first movie is 1408. It was released in 2007, directed by Mikael Hofstrom. It stars John Cusack and that motherfucker guy.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Obviously.
The one that says
Samuel L.
motherfucker a million motherfucking times.
Yeah, so it's about this dad who's grieving the loss of his child, and him and his wife are, on the outs, and he's a ghost hunter kind of person. Mm-hmm.
And a full-blown alcoholic, right?
Or
maybe not, but
I don't know.
I feel like he was drinking a lot.
I think...
I don't know. I can't remember that angle. Sorry.
No, he's just a grieving dad, more or less.
Okay.
Yeah, so he finds out about this hotel, and he's like, holy fuck, everyone that stayed here has died. And, everyone is trying to talk him out of going to it and whatever. But, it has some really tough scenes. Like, once he's there and he pretty much can't leave. The hotel room won't let him leave once he gets in. And there's some really hard scenes to watch, because his daughter appears to him, and the way he does the acting and the character is so good, but it's so fucking sad because he's apologizing to her and
Yeah, they did a good job at getting all that emotional stuff across, just with one or two people in basically the whole movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It was cool.
And, him and his wife, I think that portrays that really well too. They're on the outs now, and, they obviously want to be together, but I don't know.
She's sick of his shit.
Yeah, and I think they had different ways of, medical care for their daughter, so that kind of...
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both kind of were blaming each other for her death, in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
good
split it up.
story
Yeah.
too, and great acting, and it's one of those things where it just puts you in your feels, but scares the shit out of you at the same time.
So my next one is a very complicated story, but it's definitely worth sitting through. It's kind of a slow burn, but hey baby, he likes singing himself. It's kind of a complicated story. It's about a deaf guy who works at a factory, and his sister gets really sick, so he needs to get her a kidney. So he goes, and he's super poor, so he goes to the black market and gives them an organ in order to get a kidney that'll fit her, but he wakes up in a warehouse without a kidney and no money and basically gets scammed. So now he needs to figure out a way to get a kidney, which he can't pay for, and get his sister. And so she comes up with the idea that they kidnap their boss's daughter. So they kidnap her, and shortly after they kidnap her, and might get in a little bit spoiler territory, but this happens, I would say, a third into the movie. The boss's daughter, who's very young, under 10 or something, they're not looking, and you see her floating down the river, like she basically walked into the river and died on accident. So because of neglect, she's dead. And now the dude's ex-boss, who he was trying to do ransom on, is now coming for him to get revenge for his dead daughter. And you're like, at first you're rooting for Ryu, which is the deaf guy. Or wait, is he mute? I'm sorry. No, he's deaf. But then you're actually kind of rooting for the rich boss guy who's an asshole for firing him because his daughter's dead and like all the nonsense that happens and shit leading up to it. It's just great. There's a lot of story to it, and it's really gory, really vicious movie. Just like a lot of these like Korean vengeance movies are. Like it's just full of nastiness. It's really dark. So I would check out Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance from 2002, directed by Chan Wook Park, who also did Old Boy and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance and a whole bunch of other cool shit.
My next pick is Hereditary by Ari Aster, released in 2018. This is like one of the most difficult movies to watch in every aspect. It's a horror movie, it's a drama, it's a cult movie, it's everything all in one. I think Toni Collette, though, does the most amazing job, portraying a grieving daughter and then a grieving mother, which I don't think is giving away a lot because everything happens within like the first 45 minutes and it's intense. But there's a scene where she's just like screaming, crying on the floor, and that is just so hard to watch.
It's crazy because that movie, it does get pretty tense towards the end, but I would say most of the tension in the movie is in the first half of the movie.
Yeah, it's like, I think losing anyone you love is like a horror in itself, And then that's kind of the first half, like kind of where do we go from here? But then the second half is just like this mind fuck of a movie, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And then the last like 20 minutes are horrifying.
Also, the horrors of accidentally being responsible for the death of someone in your own family, which is like something that I think a lot of us know somebody that's like knows somebody or feels responsible for the death of a family member, and it can like fuck up your whole world like so bad. Like a lot of people don't come back from that. So
and Alex Wolff, the brother, he did a phenomenal job of the way he was in shock, the way he was just like not even the same person he was at the beginning of the movie. He did such a good job acting.
He did. I'm kind of waiting for him to be in a movie where he plays a slightly different character, because I feel like everything I've seen him in since Hereditary, he's been like the same overly emotional and angry like young guy. But,
like an old?
Yeah.
He was really good in that too, though.
Yeah, but he was so overacting in that.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny. But
what else is he?
Yeah, Old. We watched Old from M. Night Shyamalan. It's hilarious. So.
Yeah, I don't think it deserved the hate it got, but that's just me.
I do, but. Oh yeah. So my next movie isn't something that I would recommend people watching normally, because it is very slow. It's hardly even a horror movie. It's much more of a drama, but it's called Maggie, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of my favorite actors, and somebody you love, Abigail Breslin. Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't love her. I know of her.
I was just looking at her filmography. I'm like, whoa, you have some of her movies. So, I think. But anyway, it was crazy because Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's a really low budget movie, but he played the main role for zero money. No money. He just fell in love with the script and wanted to do it. And it's the lowest budget movie he's ever appeared in since the original Terminator. So for me, that was almost what makes the movie worth it. Seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to play a dramatic role. He's just a dad who has to pick his daughter up from the hospital, and when he gets there, finds out she's been bitten by a zombie and she's slowly going to change into a zombie. So he decides he wants to spend the last days of her life at home at their farmhouse instead of in the hospital. So he brings her back home. She's got a boyfriend who she's trying to escape the house to go see, and like there's a few things that happen. Not a whole lot of blood or anything, but I think for the emotional quality of this film, it's definitely worth watching. Directed by Henry Hobson in 2015. I think he was more of a commercial director. He's done a lot of shorts and stuff, but not really any other movies. Yeah.
My next pick is Pet Sematary, 1989, directed by Mary Lambert. Very mainstream, definitely a must-see Stephen King adaptation if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Fuck that remake.
Oh, yeah, that was they did too much. And they changed the whole story, but pretty much this family's grieving the loss of their toddler. Oh, and it's fucked up. Like, you don't see it, like, you don't see gore or anything, but it's heavily implied that it fucked him up.
Yeah, I mean, the truck hitting the child. I mean, the child is literally like a year older than this baby here, and like,
yeah, and he's just like trying to chase a kite, and it's the saddest thing in the world.
Semi just,
and then the dad trying to run and get to him.
It's the emotions of the father after losing the child. Stop pulling my headphones.
Yeah, we have a baby, guys.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, some of these grief things definitely I think are a lot stronger once you have a kid, because you have a different outlook on losing your kids, I guess. But I mean, some people probably can relate, but yeah, Pet Sematary is great, and I really like the sequel. I actually like it better than the original. It's got Edward Furlong and I forgot his name, Clancy Brown, and it's got a lot of fun stuff in it, and it does have some grief in it, especially when he fucking loses his little kitten. It's really hard.
Oh, yeah, but I think like the funeral scene in Pet Sematary, where there's so much anger and stuff, pretty good. Yeah, because fuck, everyone's gonna grieve differently. It's weird.
Great movie. My next movie borders on like a revenge horror plot, but it never really is considered horror, and that's going to be 1974 Death Wish, directed by Michael Winner. It stars Charles Bronson. As many people know, he's very famous for this role he plays Paul Kersey, who's a very liberal architect who's not very pro gun, I don't know, whatever amendment shit. He's more just saying, there's a lot of criminals in town, but it's as a result of our poverty. But eventually, his apartment is broken into while he's not home, where his wife is murdered and his daughter is brutally raped to the point where she's stuck in the hospital. And Paul Kersey comes back from a business trip, and he's got a brand new gun that one of his friends in Arizona gave him, and I was like, saying, you need this for protection, New York's getting really bad. And he's like, hell no. But he takes it home anyway, and then as soon as he gets home and finds out this happened, he's like, okay, I got this gun, I'm taking vengeance into my own hands. And then he goes on to shoot a lot of people, and the series goes on for I think 5 movies, and the death count just gets higher and higher and higher. I would say by Death Wish 4, Paul Kersey's probably killed 1,000 people. So you definitely have to use a little bit of suspension of disbelief when it comes to him mowing down groups of bad guys. But this very first movie is a little bit more grounded into like a gritty, crime-ridden New York kind of. It's almost like Taxi Driver, but if he had an actual reason to go on a rampage. Yeah, exactly. It's like a liberal guy playing the taxi driver's part. Anyway, that's not a very good comparison, but yeah, Death Wish, it came from that 70s gritty New York feel, though, if you remember that from Taxi Driver. So
what, The Town? No, not The Town. What's that one? Scorsese. Mean Streets.
Mean Streets. Like, yeah, definitely. Stuff like that shows 70s and 80s in New York was this really crime infested. There's a lot of problems there. So
my next movie is The Crow, released in 1994, directed by Alex Proyas. Another great movie about grief and grittiness and action and everything. It takes place during Halloween and the night before Devil's Night. Yeah, great revenge grief movie.
That movie was like the biggest deal when I was in middle school too, because of the music and the look. And the cat almost attacked the baby.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think a lot of people have seen it. I want to watch all the sequels soon, though. We should do like a Crow episode where we just watch all the sequels and like go through them, because I know they're bad, but I actually like the sequel City of Angels a little bit, and I don't mind Salvation that much. It's the one with Edward Furlong. Speaking of Edward Furlong from Pet Sematary 2 and Terminator and shit, he is not that great as the Crow, unfortunately, and he looks weird. So
Yeah, not a great match. And it's just like a lot of fun trivia on the first one too. Like Brandon Lee actually died on the set
it's
playing
not,
Eric
not
Draven.
fun trivia.
No.
That's not fun at all. But yeah, he was one of my favorite actors. If he had done more, I mean,
For
what
sure.
he had done, Rapid Fire, Showdown, Little Tokyo, Laser Mission, and The Crow is such a small discography, but not discography, filmography, and but he could have done so much more, and it's just so sad to see people die that young when they have like so much ahead of them. So
I know, and it was like one of the most influential movies of my childhood. I saw it when I was like in second grade. I was way too young for it, but I was so obsessed from the moment I watched it. I always did the makeup
yeah,
that he had. Like, it totally influenced, you know, my taste in films.
it made me and my friends argue who gets to be the Crow every Halloween.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was even gonna cut my hair one Halloween so I could have like the the hairstyle he had. It's so good. It's always on my watch list.
Yeah,
no
we
matter
watch
what.
it a couple times a year for sure.
Oh yeah.
My next pick is an extreme film. It's called Landmine Goes Click from 2015. It's kind of a weird plot. It's three friends. They go up hiking in the mountains, and one of them accidentally steps on a landmine. And it turns out that the dude that stepped on the landmine is actually fucking the chick, who's actually the girlfriend of the other person there. So it was kind of an intention for him to step on the landmine, and then that dude just bailed. He's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out." So the girl's just staying there with him while he's on the landmine. They're trying to figure out how to like get out of this. And a hiker comes along with his dog. And at first he says he's going to help them, but what he ends up doing is raping and assaulting the girlfriend while the dude's stuck on the landmine, forced to watch. It's really messed up. Then I'm not going to tell you quite what happens the next little bit, but what I will tell you is there's revenge, and like he basically, I'm not gonna tell you who he gets revenge on either, but basically, yeah, he fucks with the whole family, even the children. So it's pretty messed up. I think that was on Tubi. It's kind of hard to find, but I would check it out. It did really well in film festivals, and then it just got no press once it came out. So check out Landmine Goes Click.
So my next pick is The Invitation. It was released in 2015 and directed by Kyron Kasuma. And it has this, the main actor dude, I don't know his name, but he looks like an off-brand Tom Hardy. Like, so bad. But he's a really good actor. So it's about this guy who goes to this, like, very awkward dinner party that his ex-wife is having, and pretty much, you know, there's a lot more to the dinner party. Like, all their old friends are there. He brings his new girlfriend. There's a lot to it. But while he's there, you know, he keeps having flashbacks of when him and his wife were together, because they lost their son in, like, this really sad accident. So they divorced. She tried to kill herself, and then she went on this retreat. And now they're having dinner because she's with a new guy, and it's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot you're not saying on purpose because
it's something you have to kind of go in blind.
Some of the things you said kind of allude to what happens, but really, when it comes down to the ending, it's very apocalyptic. You could almost say.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. It's really good.
Things get really out of hand, where a dinner table event could turn into apocalyptic. Just fill in the blanks on what can happen there. There's a lot.
Yeah. His wife did a really good job, though. Like, you know, kind of saying, or like the way she's acting, like, this retreat changed my life. I'm doing so much better. And you could still tell she's not okay. And she's still.
You could tell she's kind of brainwashed.
Still hurting a lot, too.
Yeah. You could tell she was like, just covering up the pain with being brainwashed by a cult. Whoa.
Oh, you fucker.
So anyway, my next one is going to be Cemetery Man, which is more known as Del Morte del Mor, which is a 1994 horror film from Italy. It was I think it was also like Spanish and a couple other, it was like multi-international produced, but it's a movie about a dude that owns a cemetery, and the dead keep coming back to life. So he just keeps putting them back down by shooting them. And at the same time, he's still trying to find love because he lost his wife or girlfriend. And one of the people he buries reminds him a lot of the one he loves. So instead of putting her back to sleep, he tries to, get down with her. And they got this assistant named Nagi, who's kind of like a hunchback type dude who's pretty cool too. It's a horror comedy, kind of has like fantasy elements to it. It's just really weird, but if you like movies like Peter Jackson's early work, but something a little bit on the higher budget side, I would definitely check out Cemetery Man, aka Del Morte Del Amor from 1994. It's kind of funny too.
My last pick is The Haunting of Hill House, which is a TV series and not a movie. It was released in 2018, and it's directed by Michael Flanagan, who has some bangers. Like, he did the sequel to that's Stephen King. Fuck, I'm an idiot.
It?
No. Fucking
yeah, I don't like Michael Flanagan, honestly.
Yeah, and that hurts my heart because that's my fucking boy.
He did Hush, which was the one about the dude he has a mask and he's stalking like a deaf girl.
Dr. Sleep, that's what it's called.
Dr. Sleep. That was pretty good, actually.
That was a good movie.
Yeah. But a lot of the other stuff that he's done, I just feel like his stuff is very subdued. It's very, like, kind of a lot of talking and slow and serious.
I think this TV series, though, is like one of the greatest looks of like grief and the family dynamic, because they're all split up. There's a tragedy when they were younger, and in the first episode they lose their youngest sister, and it's so beautiful and heart-wrenching. And I've rewatched this series like 7 times, like even after my brothers passed away. After both of them passed away, they passed away 8 months of each other. Mm-hmm. It's just it hits really close because, there's like addiction struggles, there's broken family struggles. It's some of the best acting I've seen too, dealing with, really hard things that, life happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I can vouch for that. You've definitely watched it 7 or more times.
It's very, very good. Like, from the first time I watched it when it came out, like, I was like, oh my God. And it's like one of those things that like comforts you, but like puts you in this like weird headspace too. But it's comforting, also very sad and depressing.
Cool.
But it's really good. I would totally recommend anyone watch it because it's like horror as well too. Like, you get ghost stories, but you also get your heart ripped out and stomped on.
My last pick is going to be Wes Craven's Deadly Friend, which is a 1986 film about a kind of very nerdy teenager who invents a robot who's like his best friend, and he programs it pretty in depth, so it's almost like smart and shit. But his neighbor crush gets in an accident and she's brain dead, so he puts the fucking, what do you call it, memory card processor into her head, and she goes on a rampage and kills a bunch of people in the neighborhood. So it's good, but it is actually sad, because he's got this fucking crush or whatever that he wants to live. I don't know. It's just one of those movies where, kind of like Maggie, where people are just hanging on to people, trying to keep them alive longer than they should, when like, okay, man, it's time to put them down. But yeah, Deadly Friend. It's pretty gory too, considering like it almost feels like this like made for teenager like Degrassi or something kind of thing. But like,
I love Degrassi.
Yeah, I think it might have been produced for TV. I could be wrong, but I know that like I think it went in for like reshoots or something like that, and they added a bunch of gore. So yeah, that's a good movie. I need to see it again. It's been a while, but yeah, fucking Deadly Friend.
I guess I have a couple honorable mentions.
Go for it.
6 Feet Under, which isn't horror, but it's a very good drama series, and the last season is just like, ugh.
Oh, it's heart-wrenching.
It is. It's so good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
WandaVision as well. I love Marvel. I love superhero movies. I fuck with Marvel heavily. So when WandaVision came out, it really drew me in. So it was good. Oh, what else? Ooh, Orphan, which is
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also another like grief addiction kind of thing because the mom struggles with like alcoholism. Can relate.
Another one would be The Boy, which is about the
doll.
The doll that the couple is having a babysitter look after, and then you find that it's not that it's alive, but yeah, it's basically the replacement for their dead child. So
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that's the one I was watching by M. Night Shyamalan. Fuck, I don't remember what it's called, but it has the chick from 6 Feet Under in it, and pretty much.
Help or not help? The maid. What is it?
Oh, fuck.
Servant.
Servant.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the main character loses her baby, loses her mind, and thinks her baby doll toy is her actual son that passed away. So she hires like not a maid, a nanny. There we go.
A servant.
Yeah. And that's really, really good too, because there's a lot of paranormal stuff that goes with it.
I've walked in while you're watching it, and it has some really good cinematography.
It really
so
does. It's a really good series.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the newest one, but because I'm kind of like, what else can you do? They could have ended it with the first season, but it's still really good. But
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for our grief episode. Maybe we'll come back with something a little happier next time.
Yeah, or gorier.
Or gorier. Yeah, depends. And it just depends on if this little guy lets us.
Yeah, I know this one was a little bit of a shit show, but he's very mobile and it's
Yeah.
kind of hard right now.
Yeah, it's a little hard to record nowadays just because he's crawling now and he wants attention.
He's
which
very suicidal and tries to pull everything over on himself.
All right, thanks for watching, guys.
Mwah.
Bye.
Thank you.